add me to the stream. Now people can probably hear what I'm doing.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
All right, hopefully the audio is working. Let me know in the comments out there. If you're watching this and you know who you are, then you can have a link, and you can get that link on Gun Channels, which is a community that we built 6 years ago now, a place for conversations about guns. People that are content creators can hang out, share resources, skill sets, motivation, and inspiration. People that like to see actual effort done by human individuals and not by corporate machines or robots. Check out Gun Channels, and if you'll jump over here and I see you want a link, I'll see it in this private message thing we got over here, and then you'll get a link. So I've got a couple of links out there already to people, and they'll jump in. But it is Thursday. This is kind of the Daily Gun Show, but it's also kind of running out the clock on a giveaway we've got going, trying to raise some funds. So over at the Gear website store, which I guess I should link to, over at the Gear website store this week up until tomorrow, up until tonight actually, you'll get an opportunity to be winner of a couple of laser targets from Laser Light, place here in Arizona. Done a couple of videos on those already. So any order of $25 or more, you're in the running. If it's increment over like $50, you'll be in the running twice. $100 in the running 4 times, you know. And so I figured I would just run the clock out. I was been burning the candle at both ends. I've been working on a project here that I guess I can't show you. I might go live on Patreon only and show what I've been working on to my Patreons. But I've been working on the 2A history project and desperately trying to get something done before gun rights policy next week, and it will not happen the way I wanted, but I have gotten a lot of effort in on a project, and we'll be talking about that. Kind of burning the candle at both ends, so I'd hope to get some more work done on this effort, getting the word out about this the laser stuff, but we'll kind of incorporate it into what I did today. Oh shoot, I can't do this on Instagram, so I guess I'll be shutting off Instagram here in a moment. So if you're watching on Instagram and you're paying attention, and if you're awake and you want in, then jump over to the YouTube, I guess. But I'm going to be playing some audio from my phone, which is from this thing I went to this morning. So earlier this week on Tuesday, Enrique Sonora, who's a guy here in Tucson, posted something about the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds for the county here is one of the locations that gun shows happen, and some individuals wanted to shut that down. So they went to the fairgrounds board meeting. So it's a board meeting for people who make sure that the grass is mowed and that the buildings are air conditioned, right? The board, who just is the facility, really, the facilities management type of thing. Some people went in and wanted to influence that, so they petitioned the board to prohibit gun shows. And this was an outside the state effort, and the gun show promoter let everybody know at some point, and on Tuesday I found out about it. So Wednesday was, of course, Wednesday, and I don't like posting on Wednesday, or on the day yesterday, so I didn't post anything. Plus I figured most people don't actually live here in Tucson, so they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So this morning I went to that. I pulled an all-nighter and just stayed up working on this project that I was talking about earlier. I went to that event, and about 100-something people showed up that were pro gun show. And then 2 people, as far as I can tell, showed up that were anti-gun show. So it was an initiative, an effort by just a couple of people. And I missed listening to them. So I do not know. I'm going to have to find out if I can find what they said. But what I did record is many of the 3-minute or less little speeches by individuals that showed up that were pro-gun show. And it was neat to listen to pretty much old people talk about their relationships with gun shows, because that's really what they were doing. So I'm going to play some of that after I shut down the Instagram here. And looks like Clover Tech jumped in, and P226 Nut. Again, if you want to join, let me know over on the gun channels. I'll get that little noise like somebody stepped on a frog, and then I can drop you a link. And we'll just go live here till the end of the night, which is another 45 minutes or so, and run out the clock on this $25 offer. So kind of been all around here, but again, we were running a deal this week over on the Gear website store to get or to encourage some sales. Any order over $25 is in the running for this laser light target and laser pistol combo. So it's a laser pistol, and then each of them come with a laser pistol and then a series of targets, a color changing target, which is kind of neat, a accuracy type of bullseye, 2 accuracy type bullseye targets, and then 3 of these little can interactive reactive targets. So a couple of different types of targets, and altogether they each retail at like $100. So we're talking the gun itself is like 150 retail. The targets are over 100 each retail. So it's quite a bit actually. However, it's not all new. It's not even new in the box or anything. It's old. We've been playing with it for a few years. It's actually old models. So it was originally hundreds of dollars worth of stuff, but now you're just going to get some working lasers to either train with or play with. And that's for anybody who's purchases from our Gear website store. I can scroll over here for Instagram. Our Gear website store is one of the ways that we fund our projects, keep our stuff online, and ideally growing. Next year, we're hoping to be on the road again. And this year, we've got some bills that are being paid off this month and next month. And the mortgage has not been paid. So this is actually helping pay mortgage, keeping the van, and then getting some money saved up for the giant bill that comes up next month. But anyway, we're going to run out the clock tonight, and I'm going to shut down the Instagram. We'll welcome everybody and say goodbye to the people on Instagram and welcome you guys to the chat. Thanks for jumping in.
So, thanks for
having Let's see. I saw Cheryl Todd on my Instagram here saying, do you think Alyssa Milano knows polka dots are my camo? So she's a jerk. She, somebody, I don't know if it was a video or an Instagram thing I saw where, Alyssa Milano is kind of she's an actress who's good looking. So, she probably grew up with everybody telling her shit don't stink, right? So she's probably a jerk just based on that. But she's a jerk. And she says something in some kind of a tweet or Instagram or some kind of message online to the effect of, this guy's, did she invite him? She's like, let's call him out on his bullshit or something like that. And then this Ted Cruz guy's like, yeah, okay, let's meet up. And now all of a sudden she's like acting like, oh, I invited this guy. Anyway, it's just frustrating to watch somebody who's literally a jerk try to capitalize, exploit a situation as best she can. Anyway, I'm paying attention to nothing over here on Instagram. So, I haven't pulled these images or nothing off my phone. So I go to this meeting and it's in a fairground. So it's Pima Fairgrounds. We're not even the biggest city in the state, and we're not the biggest state in the union. So it's just a fairgrounds. It's kind of probably medium-sized fairgrounds as far as fairgrounds go. And
compared to like where Wanamaker is, that fairground.
No, you have one of the larger fairgrounds in the country.
Okay.
This is medium at best, so compared to that. But it's not insignificant. It's not like the smallest thing either. But anyway, it's just a medium-sized fairgrounds, and they have a restaurant on it between the big giant buildings where the shows sometimes are, and like the weird building without any walls where the horses do their thing, or they have like the dog stuff, this like roof. So there's a little restaurant there, and I've been to some gun show back. There used to be a gun show here that was promoted not by an individual, but by a committee, by a group of people who were just interested in gun shows. So it was a gun show run by an organization, and we used to have our meetings in this little restaurant thing. So I'm familiar with the little building, but it's just a little building, like the size of a small house, except gutted out, and it's a little restaurant, kind of. It's more like a snack bar at a pool or something, right? Anyway, this is where they have the meeting, and I've got video, but it's just a couple of card tables set up and then a bunch of chairs, and it's probably every chair the restaurant had, and only maybe 25, 50 of the people were sitting down at max, and everybody else was standing. And then, of course, the maybe 6 or 12 people that were the committee. It was hard to tell who was committee and who was a secretary or whatever. And then there was 2 cameras there that I think might have been television. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't think television cameras are as big and fancy as they used to be, right? Like, is complicated looking.
Yeah.
So I think there was some media there, or it was just somebody at like a high-end YouTube level. But there was some nice cameras there set up and filming it all. And then, like I say, I think just 2 people showed up to say something bad. And then all the rest of it was people walking up to this podium in kind of a room, but the audio was horrible. So you couldn't hear many of them. Then about halfway through the hour, somebody wheeled over like a better mic kind of thing, like you'd use for karaoke, really. And it kind of got better. So this is going to be random off on my phone. This is while people were talking, I was like, wow. And then I was like, I'm holding my phone. Why am I recording this? So I started to just record each person's 3-minute speech, because I was literally like going, wow, that was awesome. Like, thank you. That was great. And then I realized I'm there as two-way media with a phone in my hand. So I started to record them. I have no idea if they sound good or not. And I don't know, because all I see is like, I just pointed at the floor for the most part. I didn't want anybody to feel uncomfortable having a camera pointed at them or a phone pointed at them. So I was kind of right in front of the podium. So literally, most of these are just pointed at the floor. I'm hoping that there'll be some audio, but let's see if everybody's down. We'll just start playing with some of these. Let me go check gun channels, make sure if anybody else wants a link.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what people said, because the way you described it sounded interesting.
Yeah. And there was stuff that, I'm sure it's not gonna blow everybody away, but just neat to hear people that are in love with gun shows talking about gun shows in a good way.
Yeah.
The rooster has a runny nose. The rooster has a runny nose. What's that supposed to mean?
Sounds like some sort of code response.
I don't know if this is about roosted, or if this is about Gary, or if this is midnight. It's tough. Midnight, because he makes me sick.
John has a long mustache for chairs against the wall. That sort of thing.
This is probably backwards. So I'll go frontwards. All right, I'll go frontwards. Because it ends with the guy who is like running the committee, and I didn't hear the beginning, so maybe it was a surprise to me only. But it ends with the guy running the committee kind of schooling them, and I thought that was pretty cool. So we'll end with that one. I guess I'll start with this. See what it is. Oh, that's muddy as shit. You can't hear any of that, right?
Sounds like a mess.
Yeah, I turned that one off, actually. I knew she wasn't. She was like, a lot of these people like were holding the mic, like, oh, I'm technically holding the mic, but it's like if you hold it like a pen next to the paper in front of you, it doesn't really work so good.
You're like 4 inches from your face. It works a lot better.
No, I can barely hear it. That's not working. That's a shame. This was the guy who runs the gun shows, and he did okay, but he held the thing on his mouth, so that didn't work. Maybe this one will work better. This guy's held the microphone like a human being.
I'm the second biggest vendor at the gun show. I sell about 1,500 guns a year. I'm the bad guy. I do background checks on every one of them. Some pass, some fail. This is the law. We follow the law. I get audited by an ATF federal agent every year to go through all my books. I pay sales tax that I collect from the Pima County shows, which gets paid to fix our roads, pay salaries and everything. This gun show loophole, there are laws that we're not talking about here. You have to be, as a private seller, you have to ask for an Arizona ID. You have to be over 18. If you're a known felon, you cannot buy that gun. If you do, you're breaking the law. Maybe what we need to talk about is going after the people that are already breaking the laws on the books. Not trying to change anything, just follow the laws that are already on the books. I've been coming to this show with Bob for 20 years. I used to come here with my dad, my grandpa. I've loved this show. I've grown up and now I'm part of the show. I do 40 shows a year with Bob, and it helps me and my family pay the bills. And I love this show, and I hope you guys can find it in your hearts to keep it going. Thank you.
That guy is a garage seller, a guy who comes to shows and sells, but then has no shop. He just goes home and puts everything in his
Is
storage.
the Bob he's talking about the one I've met?
No, Bob is Bob Templeton, the
Okay.
Crossroads of the West, largest gun show promoter this side of Wanamaker. So there's probably that one in New York.
Yeah.
Not New York, the one that
Oh,
in
yeah.
DC that why is it so loud? The one in DC that Mark always goes to, Great American Show or something. I think that one's the biggest one east. Wanamaker's the biggest, and then these guys are the biggest.
Well, the Indy 500 is supposed to be pretty big too.
Oh, really? I haven't heard about that show. When is
Yeah,
that?
it's up near Military Arms.
Oh, I know where it is. I'm saying, when is it?
I don't know. I'd have to look. I've never been to it, but it's supposed to be as big as Wanamaker.
I got one of them books from Wanamaker, the Show of Shows. It's like a whole magazine just about
Yeah.
gun shows, and I have one. I just don't even think I've ever thumbed through it because I never thought about it.
If we Google Indy 500 gun show, it'll come up. But,
Yeah, we'll definitely put that on my calendar. So this guy was, again, a cool dude, and he spoke into the microphone pretty good. So it sounded like that one worked okay. I'll try this one, which is unknown.
I'm clearly the youngest one in here, but I just like to remark how surreal this whole thing is. This is crazy. This is America, right? We used to tar feather politicians, and now we can't even have a gun show. I think that, the gun show, it really puts it in the government's face. The Second Amendment, I'm glad that you were able to buy a firearm legally. It's the only thing that equalizes us with people that are genuinely powerful. And Aaron talked about the ATF. Look at Eric Holder. Look at Fast and Furious. Those people have so much power, and the only thing that keeps us on the same playing field is the Second Amendment. Right. I'm sorry. So this gun show, it's a meeting of the minds, and it's worth holding up in front of us and saying that our ancestors weren't free, but we are, and it's worth giving a damn about. Thank you.
I don't know if that one came through well, but that guy
he was a little loud.
he was like a hipster, right? So I wasn't sure. They like I said, I kind of got there maybe 5 minutes into it, and it was only an hour. So I got there just after the antis had talked, and I could tell something was going on. There was like palatable tension, as I'm walking in, and I had to sign a thing to get in there. And then, so I wasn't sure what the deal was, and I didn't know anybody, any kind of introductions or anything. It was all before I got there. So they did a couple of these that are 3 minutes, and I didn't record any of the 3 minute ones. Most of the ones I recorded are like a minute or something. And I watched a couple of 3 minutes, but it took me a while to get into a place because I'm deaf as anybody who shoots, right? So it took me a while to get to where I could actually hear until they brought that new speaker in. So I didn't even hardly hear any of the first stuff. But anyhow, they got to a point, and he's like, the guy who's running this whole thing is like, this meeting's only an hour, and this was something that they didn't anticipate. So he's like, this meeting's only an hour, so we'll run for an hour, but you guys can't take 3 minutes. We'll be here more than an hour. So at some point he was like, now everybody's can only have a minute. And then at some point after that, people kept talking longer than a minute. So, and like people had written notes. Some of the stuff was just monotonous. It's sort of like shall not be infringed over and over. Maybe 2 or 3 things like that. But that prompted the guy running it to say, okay, guess what? We're not going to even do time limits. Now it's just these 4 people, period. So, or whoever wants to go has to stand up, and that'll just be the end instead of this big list of people he has. So as soon as he basically said, no more rules, if you're in line, you're in line, all these people got up and ran in line. And since I didn't know who was who, I was kind of concerned because the people that got up and ran to the line were like this last guy. So he's like, Hosh, right, in California. Yeah. This guy looked differently than Hosh, but he was wearing the kind of stuff Hosh would wear.
But yet similar.
Like clothes and stuff. Like he looked like somebody would work at like Gallitzins. in San
Harsh definitely has that hipster look to him, so I get what you mean.
So you never know. At least I'm not assuming nothing about a hipster. So a bunch of hipsters get up, and then like women that were all like dressed really nicely. And I'm like, that's not usual for gun people.
That's not our crowd.
So it's like all these people get up to talk, and I'm like, are these all the antis getting up? Like they want to get their words in? But like this guy, he turned out to not be anti. He was the guy about tarring and feathering and stuff. So let's see, that was probably that one. So again, these all just look like the floor to me. I think this is the next one.
I've been doing gun shows for a lot of years since 1990. I've raised my children, my grandchildren, my whole family's been going to gun shows. They promote safety, training. I didn't even know about guns. My kids have never had an issue with guns. My grandchildren have never had an issue with guns. Why? Because I bring to the gun show, they learn respect for the guns, for the people selling, for everybody who's out there. They don't pick anything up off the table unless they ask. And the dealers won't show children a gun unless a parent is there. It's all about safety and education, and apparently we have some people in here who are not educated about guns. If they got some education, they would understand the meaning of the safety and respect. And that's what we need to get this. And I've learned that over the years, selling at pub shows. And I'd hate to see you guys make a decision to get rid of that, because we teach a lot of kids about safety out here. Thank you.
Did you hear that one?
Yeah.
I think that was another good one. Like that first one, I think it was good. Somebody mentioned it in the chat out there. The guy, I call him Yellow Shirt Guy because I don't remember his name. The guy that runs the shop, doesn't run a shop. He just runs gun shows. That guy brought up some interesting points because he addressed the loophole concept. And what's neat too is I didn't video these people, but they're standing at a podium, which is looking at the board, which is the 6 or 12 people sitting around this little U-shaped board panel, right? But the podium, or behind the podium, like was the audience, and the people that were anti were in the audience. I don't know how many of them. I think only a few. But what was cool was that most of these people, they would take the mic and then turn around and face the audience, not the board. So they were addressing the people with the concerns in the audience, not the board. So I don't know if it's because they understood the board was not really going to do anything, or if they just realized that the people were the people they were having the conversation with, and the board was just the medium they were using to talk through or whatever.
Yeah.
So that first guy, though, he talks about a little bit addressing the loophole, but he had another point in there, dang it, that I'm going to go through these again and listen to them and write it down. The second guy with the concept of, I think he said it well for gun people, but probably not for like our parents, about the, look at the Eric Holder or something, like this is the thing that disparages the government, totalitarianism or whatever. Like they don't care about that shit. But it was an interesting point. And then this guy talking about safety and addressing the person. Again, I'm sorry that I missed the part where it was the anti. It was just one or two speeches that were anti. But they must have said something about a concern. Like they must be concerned that children can just walk into a gun show and walk out with a gun. Like they really think that it's like a farmer's market where there's just a pile of revolvers in a big pile. And, you just go up and pick the ones you want by weight or whatever. And little kids walk by and take one. So I think he was trying to address the idea that, number one, it's not like you have a lesson that you learn, but by being familiar with the community, like you learn the habits, right, as a youngin'.
It's interesting. An interesting thought of a farmer's market with guns.
Huh?
There's an interesting thought of a farmer's market with guns. Like, are these Glocks locally sourced?
Yeah, exactly. Like, buy a pound of these Brownings. So I'm going to go through again and, I don't know, maybe some of these softwares I have can clean up the editing or the audio. Does anything that pulls the static out, Clover? Or that pulls the audio from all the background? No, he's just here for the paycheck. He's
Well, I got it. Stupid duck. No, I can. There's a bunch of software off. I know with Audacity, you can tweak a lot of things and take a lot of things out.
That's what I was thinking. Audacity. It looked like the kind of software that could pull out, especially like a consistent murmur, because I know it can take out like a tick-tock or a squeaky motor or something.
Yeah.
But this, see, anyway. So
yeah, what you do is you can go in there, not to get too technical, but you can highlight the area, like the noise area, the noise sample, and then it'll remove everything that you just took the sample of. So,
and if nothing else, that'll just isolate it a little bit better so it can be heard.
well, it'll make it better. Yeah, it won't. It's not going to be perfect, but yeah, it'll make it better, audible anyway.
All right. We might hit a repeat here. Like I say, I'm trying to count how many videos of the floor I have. What, why isn't it not playing? Oh, I'm trying to delete. Let's not delete them.
It's kind of personal to everyone. I grew up on the East Coast to a very poor family. So I never had access to guns, money, any of the things that a lot of people have today. I met my husband, who was a Korean vet and soldier, and I admired him immensely. He taught me about weapons. He made me go to school out here for 2 days when I purchased my weapon, my concealed permit, to learn how to use that gun, to learn all the 5 points about it. Takes me to the gun shows and teaches me respect. Growing up on the East Coast, I got the chance to work in New York City. Unfortunately, I did work with some politicians, and I did get to see things that weren't great. But I came away and said, I don't want to be like that. And one day, I'm walking down Fifth Avenue in the bright sunlight at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I get mugged by 2 people. That was scarier than a gun. 2 people with arms around my neck, ready to kill me and take my possessions. I walked away. Nothing was ever done about that. What about people that sell knives? Are we going to stop selling knives in department stores? Right? What about fireworks? There's a million things out there that a person, if they really want to harm you, is going to do it. They're not going to do it with a gun. They're going to do it with some other weapon if they have to take all the guns away in this world. Do you really think crime is going to stop? No. It's probably going to stop those murders. It's probably going to stop people that want to kill you with a knife. Hand grenade. I only heard one person here today, our congressman, talk about discrimination. I grew up as a woman being discriminated against. I worked my tail off in New York, but my bosses got my jobs and they got the raises, not me. And I feel this is another form of discrimination. Let's discriminate against the people that have something that we don't like, a weapon. Let's discriminate against the people that go to these gun shows because we don't like it. Yes, we do have to work together. There are mental health problems, there are a lot of problems out there, but it's not the gun shows causing it. And I really appreciate all of you giving me the time to be here to tell you about this, because it's personal. I went through it.
I don't know if you could hear that one real good, but I think, again,
I can hear it.
That was a good one.
the message isn't much different than what we say. But when that lady says it, right, the words don't matter. It's the person. And that's one of those things like, how do we fight against emotions? Have that lady say what we're saying, because she's on that how are they going to tell her she's not allowed to have those feelings? What happened here? That's not a...
But her tone and the tremble in her voice, and there was just a lot more to it. I mean, it was yeah, you're right that it was being a woman, and the story was powerful, but her telling it the way she told it was powerful too.
And it wasn't a script. It was her just saying stuff that is her. I think this is the next one.
And I'm not affiliated with the NRA, but an NRA credentialed pistol coach, NRA certified range safety officer, and also the founding vice president of a group of women shooters. And we're called Pistoleros de Tucson. We shoot paper, we shoot steel, and we learn to shoot it safely. And we pass that on to our children, our nieces, our nephews. We get a lot of our clients, or not clients, but our members from the gun shows. We come here to support local business. We come here to support Second Amendment rights. And we are absolutely in favor of keeping gun shows here at the fairgrounds. And
I think that the crowd here pretty much bears that out. And thank you for your time.
So that I waited to start. I just wasn't doing it well, so I didn't mind cutting off the beginning because I didn't want these people to be outed or whatever. Vox, that whatever the word is. I didn't need to. I wasn't trying to introduce all these people as much as hear their message or whatever. And it's also me fiddling with the phone in my hand, so that's why the beginnings of all of these are like. But and then the audios are completely dependent on if they held the mic anywhere near their face or not. I usually shut it off and deleted it if I couldn't even hear. But I also missed a really good one. This guy started out mumbling, and I shut it down thinking he was going to suck. And he ended up being a Nam vet, and he rocked. It was like one of the better ones, and I was kicking myself. And I think I just recorded everything after that, just in case they sucked at the beginning and turned out awesome. But
Yeah.
So some of these might suck, but I think most of these I deleted if they sucked.
We will next expect is to attack the use of guns. And that's start out by controlling who can shoot.
Nope, this is one of the bad ones. This guy might have had a good idea, but he did not get it across well, and he sounded like a non-good word paranoid guy. I don't know words good, but I'm paranoid.
Carry. I have church security at my church, and they know I carry, and they feel protected. Where do I get my information, my friends, my accessories, everything that I need, that I want, the people that I want to know at a gun show? Gun shows are great places. They are nice people, very nice people, and I've made some really fine friends. I am a member of the terrorist organization, NRA, USCCA, GOA, NAGR, ACCDL.
Yes.
I believe in safety with guns. I train my kids, my grandkids, and my great-grandkids with guns. Guns are great if you know how to use them and you're safe with them. I believe in safety. And safety is paramount. And I train people, and I like training people. My gun shows help me prepare. They're nice. I carry 5 carry permits from different states, so I can shoot or carry in most states. I'm trained, and I believe in training for everybody, including those, especially those women who don't know about guns and are afraid of guns. Come on, ladies. I'll help you get unafraid safely.
Again, that's somebody's grandma. And
There's a lot of cool old ladies in Arizona. That's what I'm hearing.
dude, that's what I'm saying. And like they say, this lady had the mic, turned around, and was talking to the ladies that were there that were concerned, and they had heard whatever their concerns were. Must have been something like, again, can you even imagine? It's probably healthy. It would probably be good for us to learn what they think gun shows are, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, they certainly don't think that it's a bunch of ladies learning from each other and grandmas and stuff that are aware. And yeah, so that's why, like I say, I think these things are pretty inspiring. Pretty sure this is the next
Really,
one.
your farmer's market comparison isn't far off. It is kind of like a farmer's market for guns in a lot of ways.
That's the only thing I can think of. I was trying to say like a car show, like maybe these people think of it like a car show, but a car show is fake. Well, the same thing. Even like a TV show or something, that's all fake, because you go up and you ogle somebody's thing and you're like, oh, that's a neat car. I like your engine, or let me touch your tire. I don't know what they do. So then you walk away and that's it. Like, oh, I envied a bunch of other people's cars, right? Like that's not what they do. It's a market. It's more like a swap meet.
Well, like car shows, they're normally showing off cars, they're not selling cars. They're like a boat show, they're selling boats.
But not the boat. You're gonna look at a boat and then you're gonna order it on a piece of paper. You don't walk into the boat or nothing. So that's all I'm saying. It's more like a trade
market, maybe.
Yeah. But a swap meet, everybody thinks of a swap meet like, oh, that's a bunch of people with mullets selling dirt to each other or whatever. So that's why farmers market might be a little easier for like Trader Joe lady to figure out, or whatever. Trader Joe.
Well, like most farmers markets have people there selling art and stuff too.
Yeah, well, that's why I was thinking swap meet's kind of like, there's food at a swap meet. There might be even like some kind of, I don't know, like a little event or somebody doing a skit or something. Like things happen at swap meet sometimes. And then, of course, lots of different vendors. But yeah, I don't know. There's no perfect comparison. That's why gun shows are awesome. They're unique.
They are unique. It's going to be a shame if we ever get to a point where we can't have them.
Well, they're going to change no matter what. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
a big advocate of gun shows. They've been changing. They will continue to change. We can consider it evolving if we do it with intent, but they are going to change. And that's both due to antis with a deliberate and motive to get rid of a show. There's lots of reasons to get rid of a show, but also apathy. People don't go to gun shows anyway. We're trying to save these things for like the 8 people that actually show up. So shows will have to change to stay alive. But yeah, it's
it
going to
seems
be
like that, non-vet generation that was hardcore into gun shows is kind of fading away. And the younger kids, are all internet based. We don't need no fucking gun show. They don't know that you can go to a gun show and find a gun there for probably several $100s cheaper than buying it online.
Or parts or accessories or
anything.
But it doesn't matter.
Lay hands on it in person.
A gun show isn't a exchange situation. I mean, it is, but it's not its only focus. So unlike like a ham fest, well, maybe like a ham fest, you go to a ham fest to exchange product, but you also go there to BS with other hammers.
Yeah.
You go to a Comic Con, maybe that's the best analogy. You go to a Comic Con or a sci-fi con,
conversations I've ever had happen at gun shows.
and you go there to meet like-minded and to have an afternoon of enjoyment with a like-minded culture. So that part of a show is where you get the problem. And we're talking now about antis deliberately wanting to get rid of the one thing that's going to be about all the things we're about to talk about, the one thing that facilitates everything we're about to talk about. And it's also the one place that an FFL can do business outside of their brick and mortar. So by removing gun shows, or at least any interest in gun shows, what you've effectively done is killed every non-brick and mortar FFL, because they depend on gun shows for their existence. So now you've removed half the FFLs, and that means half of people's access once you get universal background checks. So it's important for them to kill gun shows strategically as trying to kill off our portion of the industry, the society, because gun shows are critical. Even if they're not used much, they are a critical part of our culture. But the stuff that gun shows are good for is awesome, but we're going to lose them. They are dying and dwindling. But that's not just because the kids don't want to go to them. It's because the people that do go to them are resistant to evolution. They've done what they've done, and their routine is their routine, and everyone's willing to allow that. Well, that's awesome, Grandpa. But you know what? Like, just because Grandpa likes to do such and such and be home by 4 so he can poop on his own toilet doesn't mean the rest of the world ends at 4 p.m., So Grandpa can go do his gun show like that, but the promoters are the ones who are really killing it.
Well, see, that's one of the things that always bothered me about gun shows is they all close down before 5 o'clock usually.
Because of the olden days. So again, the promoters need to get off their butts, be open-minded, and change gun shows so that they attract everybody, not just anybody, but everybody. To the wrong people is all.
Start later, stay open later, right?
Yeah.
No. Well, we all have different ideas. We could have a whole show on that. But yeah, I think that anyway, that's the thing. There's definitely people working to get rid of gun shows with a desperate intent. And then there are people that could care less about a gun show. They've never been to a good one. They hate them even. I mean, I talk to people that hate them. Not everybody hates them, but there's plenty of people that just don't care. And then the people that are advocates, there's just fewer and fewer. So yeah, it's not going to be something that some amount of people will need to champion and encourage and motivate somebody to change something, so that a new dynamic happens, and then everybody who's lazy and just comes along for the ride, once they see the new evolution and go, oh, then it'll, that could revive for a while, and then something will change again. But
it is kind of like jumping into the deep end of the pool where there is a new gun person.
Shouldn't have to be, though. And in fact, it could be the opposite if you had, again, an awareness of who's, and again, we could have a whole show on that. But no, you're right. You have to like know the ropes, or else
Yep.
who wants to hell? I don't even like going to some shows if I don't know the ropes, and
Exactly.
I'm an advocate. All right, so this next one.
Tell you a story about what happened to me when I was 17. I accidentally shot my best friend in the face with a .22 rifle. What caused my accident, what caused me to shoot him, was ignorance. Ignorance of operating a firearm. Ignorance is the worst thing that can happen to a people or to a country. To stop this gun show is to bow down to ignorance. I resent the fact or the implication of blame and association to these criminals simply because they had murdered somebody.
Man, I'm going to stop it right there. Does the audio work on this guy?
Yeah.
I fucking got a fucking non-gay boner to a boner for this sentence again. Here, listen to this.
I resent the fact, bow down to ignorance.
Here.
I resent the fact or the implication of blame and association to these criminals simply because they had murdered somebody.
Fuck you fucking bastards. Like, fucking can't agree more. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me I'm a fucking criminal because that fuck over there was wearing pants? What the fuck? He was wearing glasses, so I'm a criminal? He fucking ate carrots one day, so we're all fucking criminals? Fuck you and your accusation. That's fucking... Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Fucking fuckers.
I am a law-abiding citizen, a disabled veteran, and retired. I did nothing wrong, and neither have we people in this room. Yet we are being associated with these criminals simply because we believe in the Second Amendment.
And plus, how badass is it that he had 3 minutes and he dropped the fucking mic and walked away right there? That's the fucking shit right there. Fucking sons of bitches.
Yeah.
I don't know how they go, so I'm going to go with this guy's foot, and then we'll do the other guy's foot.
I'm not here under any of my titles. I'm here as a concerned citizen and somebody that cares about the Second Amendment. Yesterday.
Okay, so to preface this, this guy is an undercover agent whose job is to walk gun shows. Those of us who know, but criminals don't.
Yeah.
I'm not here under any of my titles. I'm here as a concerned citizen and somebody that cares about the Second Amendment. Yesterday was a celebration or the anniversary, I should say, of a horrific act in New York City. 3,000 people were killed. Not a single gunshot was fired. The day after that, which would be today, 18 years ago, I do not think that we would be having this discussion in any way, shape, or form, because I believe that 18 years ago today, we all wanted to feel secure in our homes. Part of that security is being able to purchase guns legally. Now, I can tell you that these gun shows provide that avenue. There's some misconceptions that people can come out here and buy guns illegally. The reality of it is that there's an undercover federal law enforcement here. I've been here several times. There's uniformed officers here. I have seen that. My time's up.
So if you can't take the word of an undercover federal agent that illegal sales aren't happening at gun shows,
Yeah. Well, like, there's probably 0.1% that you're never going to be able to stop of, like, some dude who had a record who bought a gun and never did anything with it. But are those hurting anybody anyway?
Fast and the Furious was instigated by Operation Wide Receiver, which was instigated by Mike Deddy being concerned that little fuck was buying 6 or whatever AR receivers and asking about how to convert them. So he went over and talked to the ATF agent that he was, he knows, and that guy said, let me talk to Eric Holder. He says,
well, there is a report out there, and I don't have it. Obviously, I don't have it on me because I wasn't prepared for all this. But there's a report out there done.
I'm sorry, I hang out with Yankee. If you can't bring your sources,
yeah,
be wrong.
Well, that's fine. You're totally free to call me wrong and disagree with me. I'm just saying there's a source out there from. I'm gonna cite what it is anyway. That way somebody can maybe use the Google food and look it up. But Yeah, it was a report done by the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice, and it was actually done under Obama, and which is kind of interesting. But they polled. I don't remember now the sample of how many criminals, but it was criminals of all different types that utilized a firearm in their criminal act, right? And they polled them on a lot of different things, and one of the things was where they got them. And gun shows was, I don't remember the number, but it was like a non-existent number. It was very low.
Oh, I remember the number because it's funny you said that, because one of the guys earlier before they brought the microphone out so I could even bother to record them, he brought up that statistic. So I happen to know that number. It's 0.8%.
Yeah, right. It's crazy low. Yeah.
That's about where I figured it would be, like way less than 1%.
Yeah.
Because again, the problem is, and again, this is all on promoters, honestly. It's just, it's ourselves. We are the gun shows, the promoters cater to us. It's a symbiotic relationship, but let's blame them, because otherwise we have to blame ourselves. So promoters don't let cameras into gun shows. Until recently, they prohibited it to the point where you're taking your camera and doing something and kicking you out and not letting you come back. And that was out of fear and not out of anything else. So the reaction to that withdrawal is the other side is able to use any crazy, mental picture of a gun show, because there's literally nothing except for movies to challenge that. And most movies are trying to make a gun show either look like a buffoonery or a murder den or some kind of Nazi. I mean, there's never been a good representation.
Double bags full of guns with shady dudes selling them or something.
There's literally, I cannot think of a valid.
I don't know how many people have a Wanamaker for the camera thing over the years. Like, I've seen people kicked out of Wanamaker and shit over the years for the camera thing.
Oh, they're serious. Even now, they're serious.
Every gun show, and it's because there's a reason to be gun shy, right? Gun shy is part of our culture.
Well, those hidden camera videos a few years ago really set them off.
Yeah, like I say, there's reason, but on the other hand, they overreact. They aren't fluid and they're not paying attention, and there's not enough of us breaking through like we do at Wanamaker, because we're awesome, and challenging the perceptions on both sides and offering something different. But anyway, because of that, like I was just saying, there's nothing decent, there's nothing positive about gun shows ever. And because of that, we, the industry, the community, whatever we're called, we have allowed that to happen. Now, we don't challenge, because it's inappropriate. We'd look like spazzes if every time somebody was making fun of a gun show, actually, gun shows are not like that, and they're very open, right? But if we would make a better job of making fools of them for marginalizing us, and make it clear that they're marginalizing us, and that marginalizing is an attempt to remove us from society. It's a violent attempt. It's a manipulative attempt. And if we call them out on that, these social justice people who they claim to be, right, the same people, then show them on their two-facedness, if nothing else. And if nothing else, it lets the people who might listen to them without challenging what they're hearing understand that they're two-faced. Because if they just get to say gun shows are unscrupulous and people that attend them are sleazy, and it's never challenged, then it's never challenged, and we lose. So if we can at least show them that, like, you're marginalizing us, you don't know what a gun show is, yet you attempt to suggest that it's otherwise, then that's either out of ignorance or out of intent. You don't get to squirm out of that. So if we hold their feet to the fire, then if nothing else, we don't necessarily change them, but we allow their audience to understand that they're manipulative and they're liars. So anyhow, we could do a lot of shows on gun shows. I wish there was people that would listen to it. Here's the next one.
90% of the people who want background checks that's a problem. I don't think my brother's when his room wants that. 68 years ago this Christmas.
Can you hear this?
That was true. My grandfather and my father would have been put jail for felony because I gave me a gun when I was 10 years old.
I'm going to stop this one because this guy is just kind of rambling and it's a little tough to hear for me. I'm guessing it's got to be tough, and I want you guys to have to.
I was hearing it fine.
I was hearing it fine.
Got muted. He's basically, though, saying that he's wrong. He's saying that the universal background checks would prohibit his dad from giving him a gun, and almost every universal background checks lets you transfer inside a family. So those are tough to. It was anyway. So I'm moving on. So.
Well, there is some stuff out there, and there's proposals and things like that about even kids even letting your child handle a firearm under the age of 18 or whatever the hell. So,
really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And again, they should be mocked for suggesting that. That's like suggesting a kid shouldn't learn about sex until they're 18 or 21.
Right.
Because it would be inappropriate. Like, what do you fucking get to tell me I'm inappropriate? Like, you don't get to teach a kid about it until they're old enough to eat blowfish.
And they've been pushing that for a while, because I know my youngest one, when she was old enough to drive, there was some concern about, because I mean she was heavily involved in shooting sports, right? So there was concern about her being able to go to practices and do other things. Like, I mean, she was 16 and had firearms, right, and ammunition. And so, I actually went to law enforcement and I said, hey, I know that, what's the deal with this? And they're like, well, as long as you know about it, right? And they said, and we would recommend that they were in a case, the ammunition was separate, they're not loaded, they're in the trunk, that sort of thing. And you're not going to have a problem. You shouldn't have a problem anyway. So.
I never thought about talking about that. I've been driving around since I was 16 with guns. I never even thought about it.
Mm-hmm. But even back then, there was people trying to get legislation and stuff, and they're still, like I said, they're still doing it today about, they don't want a kid handling one at all, period.
Yeah,
let alone a situation like that where the parents is not around.
And again, that's because it's unfathomable that a kid might want to recreationally go somewhere and shoot their gun, or competitive.
I was going to gun shows and going to check out cool World War II guns, and the old dude behind the fucking table was like, "Sure, you can pick it up and handle it, do whatever." Like, it was not a big deal. Like, that was awesome. Like, I don't know. I would hate to lose that.
Yep.
Yeah. Corey's saying, did y'all hear about that kid that was suspended from school because a video came out of the kid and at the range with his mother? Wasn't that in Colorado, I think, recently?
Yeah, that was, there's more to that story, but yeah.
How? What do you mean more?
Because that was a school thing. First of all, he didn't break any laws or anything else. So that was definitely a school policy thing. But the headline from the pro-gun side that wants to utilize headlines is an actual article and not dig into actually read the whole thing. Yes, that was an old picture, and everybody's making a big stink. They're like, this kid got expelled or whatever, suspended, because somebody found a picture on his social media that was 4 years old of him, shooting with his mom 4 years ago. Well, they found that picture because he made some really off-color, threatening style remarks on his social media about the school. So that's why the school took action and suspended him. It actually had nothing to do with the picture of him and his mom with a gun.
Well, it sounds like from what you just described that he said something dumb, and then when they're like, we need to look into this.
Then they found the picture with the gun.
Well, but again, the picture that they found isn't a kid like doing some goofy movie thing or like being weird or doing something unsafe. It's him at the range. It's like, that seems a little like flying off the handle. Like, we suspect, and this verifies. Like, you can suspect, I guess, but this doesn't verify.
No. The school district they didn't say, the law enforcement, nobody said that picture was the issue. Nobody has said the picture was the issue. It's one of them things. Here's the thing, okay? 4 years ago, I go out shooting with my kid, right? Okay. 4 years pass. My kid does some off-color remarks and stuff like that. The school gets wind of it, right? They go on social media. They see that thing. They suspend my kid, right? And then me and my kid make the claim that they did it because of that picture, not because of what was actually said.
Okay, I'm with you.
That's my take on that story from reading everything that there is out there about it. And that's why it's important that you don't listen to talking heads on YouTube and then just walk away and think that, that's all the information you need. That's also why you don't look at just one source of news, why you have to go into the belly of the beast and the lion's den and look at all sides and all angles, because you're not going to get the whole truth from one place. It's not going to happen.
No, and that's we should. No, I don't think that's something to strive for either. Like I wouldn't want to strive for like a one source information.
No, absolutely not. Agree. Yeah, agree. But too many people just read a headline from one source, or they listen to a little one line snippet from one person, and then they assume the rest of what's going on.
Well, okay, I hear you, but at the same time, we have to evolve as a society. Everybody isn't, choreographed. So everybody's at their pace, and we got people that are figuring it out. And yeah, we'll get to a point where those who have figured out how to filter info good will be able to relate that to the next generation of people trying to figure it out, and eventually we'll get beyond the filter. And I think some of it will also be, as you're describing that, it makes me think of some channels, right? People that create content. Some people are out there like seeking content, like, hey, you have a source, let me get that direct from you. Like, oh, I found a new source, let me get info direct from you. And then there's people that are like, I'm going to aggregate, like I'm going to go find people that have said stuff from their sources and put it all in one spot. And then there's people that are like, I'm going to try to influence by aggregating with a filter. So I'm going to handpick, blah, 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 and then yell out, blah, 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 sky's falling.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, exactly. Like I found things that support my facts, or my opinion, so blah, blah, blah. So as people figure all that, there's all this different ways of running a channel, I think what'll happen is audiences will wise up, right? I think what happens too is some of them, you see some of this stuff, it's obvious and you just leave the platform. But at some point, as a society, as a group of people, will collectively like move on from the people that are just regurgitating. Regurgitating won't give you any return. So fewer and fewer people will attempt to regurgitate, and then we'll see less noise and static, right? We'll see more people just directly from the source. Right. And there are people that have always been like, I've got a good source of info and I put it out here, but they just weren't savvy at putting it out there, or they were putting it out there in such a way that it was not seen. So again, as we lose some of the chaff, some of the people that just regurgitate and can't do anything more than put high production value on what somebody else did, once those people leave or people filter through them, those people that have the actual sources and relate just plain news, they'll have either their own skill set will grow, or they'll get associated with people that can promote their message, right?
Right. Well, and there's a place, as much as I call them the drama whores, and there's a lot of channels out there that are that way. And as much as I don't hate them as people, but as much as I kind of hate that tact and, and the way they do things.
I'm going to have a show on tomorrow where I challenge Clover's opinion.
Well, go ahead. I don't care. My point is that, as much as, I may not like that, I also see that potentially there's a place for that, because those are the ones that will get the attention a lot of times. So it will get, it'll get people's attention. So, my challenge is, okay, yeah, I get it. I don't like to see that, but my challenge is that the people listening to that stuff is, look at a few more sources and vet everything, what is it? Trust but verify, vet everything a little bit, and then, and then form your own opinions. Don't just base, what you think. Don't just regurgitate. You hit the nail on the head when you said regurgitate. Don't just regurgitate. And I speak that for anybody that listens to me. Don't just listen to me. Go out and listen to somebody else. But you got to listen to people outside the fray too, without a doubt.
I stole this off of this Canadian site, but I'm gonna post it again eventually. Be a voice, not an echo.
There you go.
Pretty succinct. It was probably stolen from something that doesn't sound like a Canadian concept.
It sounds like you'll probably get a copyright strike.
All right, so here's the next one, I think.
I'm not here under any of my
Oh no, that is that guy there. So then, but how is it stacking them? It's stacking them this, so it's this one's next.
I didn't read the sign. 90% of the people who want background checks that's a fraud.
Oh, this is that other guy. Maybe it's because my pad is back on. Oh, you know what it is? My touchpad is back on, and I think my phone is just touching my touchpad. Maybe that's been triggering my mute this whole time.
Joe Schultz over on the corner. I saw this coming, stop by. I did want to say one thing. Using these mass killings as a means to take guns from gun shows seems like a lie. They do extensive investigations on these killings, and I don't recall a single one being determined to have bought a gun at a gun show. But these people are willing to disrupt income, livelihood of people that come and sell. So this is all straight up BS. Thank you.
He just called it like he's seen it.
I like that one though. That challenging them that how effective is this prohibition? What is it actually going to accomplish? Because nothing has ever actually come from this, other than your perception.
Yep.
Hello, my name is Brandon Martin. I'm running for Congress here in Arizona 2nd District on the Republican ticket. I'm a lifetime member of the AZCDL, and I can tell you that right now, I'm going to appeal to you for courage. We have people trying to take our rights to keep and bear arms, and they're trying to influence you as a part of an agenda. You can look at what's going on in Tucson right now with the Sanctuary City Initiative, and you have a choice on what you're going to do in the future of Pima County. Walmart recently banned the sale of firearm ammunition. According to the CDC, 2017, 80,000 people were killed by alcohol. Same year, CDC says 39,000 people were killed by guns, 60% of which were suicide. Alcohol is still sold at Walmart. There have been stores pop up outside of Walmart's that sell ammo.
So I think that's cool. It's a representative, or some guy who's running for a representative, but he's also challenging them to understand their, if they had the ability to do anything about it, to challenge their results with what they want the city to look like. Because we're challenging, or we've had a challenge with similar to, I think, San Francisco. Is it LA? I forget, or maybe both. But we had a bunch of homeless people that there was some loophole, the homeless people loophole, where they could have a certain size of thing. And I think it was like 4 by 4 by 3. If it was under that size, then it wasn't a home, or it wasn't a shelter. So they were making these giant doghouse looking things on wheels that were just under the size, and they could set that anywhere and it was not a violation. So they had like taken over literally downtown Tucson, and they were like, there was these big holes with grates over them in the sidewalk, or they take the air intakes for the county building, and they were pooping and peeing in there. So they were living in this park and pooping and peeing in the intake to the county building, and for like a while. I'm laughing because those people who were leaving to be there were having to smell all that, or having to go through a lot of filters. Right. But that's eventually why they got them out of there. They're like, hey, you keep pooping in our
what is that smell? We've cleaned everything. We changed the filters. What's going on?
Well, there was like a community. Like there was, it was like it was like an old-fashioned Grateful Dead show, and looking at the parking lot, except in downtown Tucson, and there was no music.
Wow. Ugh.
Anyway, yeah, and then they didn't have porta potties, so they were pooping in the thing. Anyway, so yeah, I could see that they were appealing to the board there to say, what do you really want Tucson to look like? Do you want us to have sanctuary city stuff now, and have not only that, but have illegal people doing that? So because you don't know what it's like I don't think any of you do. In Tucson, if you have Mexican plates, then you can just do whatever you want because they can't pull you over. They can't do anything if they did pull you over, right? So whatever you call like diplomatic thing or whatever, like
snap.
they don't have jurisdiction. Even if like you run somebody over, I mean, I bet you it's difficult to like deal with somebody from Mexico when they do crimes up here. So they certainly don't care about them speeding and doing all kinds of stuff. So I would imagine, they're just like, hey, it's a whole level right now with the homeless. Like now, do you want like homeless that don't even have jurisdiction? We don't have jurisdiction over. Like, is that the route you want us to take? So I'm not saying it's a perfect tact or nothing. I'm just saying interesting to see that a politician would come in and appeal to the board, a whole different tact. Everybody else was either talking to the individuals who had the problems or just, to the board or whatever, but not like challenging the board to think about the consequences. Maybe that's what I'm looking for, consequences of their vote. Outside of just the gun show. Like, yeah, this is one more brick in the wall of people with an outside agenda. Do you want to participate in that? Understand that you're playing a role in that,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was good.
I zoned out for a second while I was texting someone. Did I hear you say that there are mobile dog houses that people live in Arizona?
No, they got rid of whatever the deal was, but that was for months, 1 year. I forget how long. It was a while ago. I mean, the place.
People would just put on a wheelbarrow?
No, they just said it. I forgot what it was, but whatever the deal was, like there was some dimensions, and if a thing was under those dimensions, they couldn't like force you to leave it off the sidewalk or something. So somehow there was this homeless people loophole, and if they built a thing and it looked like a doghouse kind of with wheels on it, like a wheelbarrow doghouse thingy, they would walk around with it and just leave it sit and then climb in it. And because it was under the dimensions, it's sort of like a shopping cart. Like, you can't carry you can't carry like a rickshaw down the sidewalk, but you could carry a shopping cart. And somewhere somebody said, here's the dimensions where it's a rickshaw or it's a shopping cart. And then it was some like, we hate the sidewalks committee or something was like, let's just build a shit ton of these dog houses and give them to homeless people. So they did that. And then there was like a shit ton of homeless people with these dog houses, and they just all set up shop and like a little thriving community.
I hope it was just like one homeless person thought of it and then they taught another.
No, it wasn't. They were all the same. It wasn't like somebody came up with this and all the homeless.
It was literally like I hate the sidewalks committee that did that. That's funny.
Yeah, somebody was like, let's screw with Tucson and just put these things out there, like tons of them. They all look the same. I only went down there like twice. It reeked. So anyhow, that was a politician challenging. Is that the same video?
Hello, my name's Brandon Martin.
Yeah, that's the same one. So I have another one here, and I don't know what these are. I thought the politician was the last guy.
Joe Schultz in the corner. I saw this coming, email or something, so I thought I'd stop by. I did want to say one thing. Using these mass killings as a means to take guns from gun shows seems like a lot.
Oh no, we listen to that one. So then I must be going this way. So this is the last one. So now this is the guy who runs the board telling them to fuck off, basically.
Between the Southwestern Fair Commission and Pima County. Very briefly, the Southwestern Fair Commission, as has been previously stated, is a private non-profit corporation which operates the fairgrounds under a management agreement with Pima County. Like all of you, I'm sure all of us on the board abhor the gun violence that has taken place. Those of you that want stronger gun laws are speaking to the wrong group. As many of you are probably aware, we don't, in fact, can't make laws more stringent than the state and federal laws that currently exist in regulating gun shows. We do not make laws, but we follow laws. We have a policy that allows a variety of interested groups far beyond the gun show, many activities out there, to utilize our facility as long as all local, state, and federal laws are followed. There are legal opinions and court cases that have been alluded to already this morning that indicate that we cannot decide who can and cannot be allowed to put on events at this facility based on any prejudice or personal agenda. As to having gun show topics on future agendas, as chairman of the board, I have the final say on what is on the agenda. Several people have asked, how do you put your agenda together? Well, very basically, we have things that come up routinely every time of year because we have things to address. Our board puts together an agenda. As chairman of the board, I have the final say on what goes on that agenda. It is my intent to not put gun shows on future agendas and let it turn into a public hearing on this. We do not conduct public hearings. We all know that this is a topic that needs to be resolved at a much higher level than this board. Making new laws is not above our purview. We on this board are unpaid laypersons who are only trying to make the facility a better place for a variety of entertainment activities for the residents of Southern Arizona. I want to thank all of you that have expressed your concerns here this morning. Thankfully, this is the right that all of us have in this country. The next item on the agenda, our staff report, but before we go into that, I want to take a brief recess.
So I don't think he could. I don't know if it was clear, but he couldn't have said it any clearer. He's like, number one, this ain't our job. Number two, we couldn't do nothing that you want, even if we wanted to. Number three, I write the agenda. Number four, we're never going to have gun shows on the agenda again as long as I'm on the board.
I like that.
And then he's like, thank you, we live in a country with this right, or whatever. I'm glad we live in a country with this right. So it was a pretty cool recharge of the batteries. Thanks to Enrique for letting me know. I mean, I did not know about it until Tuesday, and I would definitely tried to get the word out. I like I say, I wasn't going to really post on Wednesday, so I didn't, and I didn't figure I was losing too much there. It was kind of a gamble, but losing too much. But it turns out that we could have all stayed home. The board was not interested in their BS. But anyway, I went out there, and like I said, I missed the beginning part. I only missed 5 minutes. I don't know how much they must have started early or something. Or there was literally just one speaker for 3 minutes. But she's tried to come up at the end, and then she tried to say something. They literally shouted her down. Like, so she must have said something close to offensive. Like they were shutting her down as if she said something about puppy cancer. Like they did not want her talking, and it was over. Is the other thing. Like, he had already dismissed it or whatever. So I was kind of interested in hearing what she had to say. But at the other hand, screw you, lady. You don't just get to come up and disrupt my life. I'm trying to do this big project before Gun Rights Policy Conference. I've got my, funding thing going with the gun gear websites. I came out here on a Thursday to support gun shows in general, but Bob from Crossroads of the West specifically, and Pima County Fairgrounds, which I used to volunteer at the Pima County range, was right across the street and stuff. So, this is something I'm willing to do to defend when necessary. But you don't get to call the shots, lady. Just because you have a problem with guns and gun shows doesn't mean I get to, or I have to put my shit on hold and address your stupid petty crap. So I'm going to put her in the Rolodex or in the to-do list, let's say, and potentially in the future, when we got time, go back and seek her out and figure out what her thing was. As I was leaving, I made a post on Instagram before I left, just to get it out there, right? And I was pretty much half asleep. I figured I might die on the way home, so I'd get the post out there first. But anyway, as I was leaving, I could see that whoever it was with the cameras was interviewing the lady who was upset about gun shows and Bob, the promoter. So it was some sort of interview back and forth or something. And I seriously thought about stopping the van, parking again, going over there and listening, and then maybe talking to her so that I could get some insight to somebody who's anti-gun show. And then I thought all that other stuff. Fuck you, lady. You don't get to tell me, at your whim when I'm going to do your shit. I'll do it when I'm ready to it. She's not going anywhere. If she's certainly against gun shows, she'll be against gun shows in a month or two, right? But just because of my life situation, I wasn't able to do that. But I'm hoping that others are able to. So there was 100-something people showed up. not everyone was a vendor. I recognized many of them as vendors, but you could hear just from the people that talked. It wasn't all vendors. It was people that, understand and enjoy gun shows. The Vietnam vet had a good speech, and I should have wrote down some notes on paper. I tried. There was like I don't know if he was a news reporter. He was some kind of news reporter. I don't know if he was a news reporter for like the newspaper or like the TV or something, but he had like a notepad and he was writing down notes, and every once in a while I would go take a picture of his notes just so I could steal them, but I couldn't read his writing for shit. But yeah, I don't remember what the Vietnam guy had said, but he actually blew me away. And I was like, dang it, I'm really pissed I'm not recording this. And anyhow, I'm gonna encourage anybody, if you have something like this that happens, attend. It was great to meet up with the people. Like I say, most of them were vendors, or at least people I'd seen at shows, let's say. And then like that kid who said something about, this is the country where we used to tar and feather politicians, and now we're challenging our right to have a gun show. So that kid was pretty young and kind of hipster looking, so he wasn't your typical gun show, whatever, dynamic.
Yeah. Well, there's always someone there to buy the CZs or whatever.
Yeah, seriously. 9mm shooter, tight pants. So we've got the thing going. We were running out the clock. We already ran out the clock, I guess. But any orders over at the store will, of course, count. And tomorrow I'll be doing a long format show. I don't know how to do this. You think what I'm going to do? Oh, this is the stream. I should have done this on the tube. I'm an idiot. So I apologize to Mike. I should have done this on GunTube. I did it on the duck that I have.
Running now?
Yeah, it runs. The thing is, the duck, I just have to click 2 buttons and it broadcasts on both of my YouTube channels. So I just go to the duck, I wipe off his monocle the way he likes it, and then I can either click Daily Gun Show or gun websites, and then it just launches a show, which is nice. I don't think it does that on GunTube. I've only ever joined other people's shows on GunTube. I've never actually launched one, or if I do launch one, it's just to have an off-air chat. So I haven't posted it over to YouTube, so I don't know if it's that easy or not. But if it is, I apologize. But I apologize anyway. I should have done it that way, because I was going to say I'm working on this project, the 2A history, one element of the 2A history project that I've been working on for a while. And it's like, I don't know, a month ago, I thought I could get it done before gun rights policy. Weeks ago, I still thought I could get it done if I really put my elbow into it or put my shoulder into it. And then the last week or two, just with other shit clobbering on me, it's not happening, right? So I didn't want to give up on it. I figured out how to get a sample or prototype without making a full run of these things, which would have cost money. Anyway, I'd like to share it with people and get some feedback and see if I'm even going in the right direction on stuff. But I don't want to go public with it because it's such an awesome idea. It'll make me $1 million, or it'll make some other jerk $1 million who steals it from me. So I was thinking of doing like a Patreon thing where I just send a private link to patrons only, and then open up a room and just stay off air, and then turn a camera on and try to share it that way. But like I say, I really can't do that in the duck, or if I did it in the duck, it would be a lot of work. So I'm with Gary. The duck is too much freaking work.
No. So did I hear you right that there's a shooting range across the street from where you have gun shows?
Yeah, the fairgrounds is, I don't know, a section? What's a section? 40 by 40?
Yeah, something like that.
Or it's 40 acres, however. I think it might be a section, or else it's a quarter section. It could be a quarter. And then the fairgrounds used to just be fairgrounds. And I don't know, I've been here a while. At first, when I first moved out here, it was a fairgrounds. It was just a big fairgrounds. And then they kind of screwed with it. And now it's, I don't know where the fairgrounds ends, because they can like move barriers and fences and stuff, like in these parking lot quote unquote things.
Yeah.
And there's like different kinds of races. So like there's the drag strip or whatever you do in a straight line, but then there's all kinds of non-straight line shit they do out there. And then I forget what's the other thing, something else that there's like a big thing. What the hell? It's not remote. It might be remote control cars or go-karts or something else out there that's pretty, I don't go over there. So there's sections of it that I guess aren't the fairgrounds anymore. But anyhow, so whatever that giant area is, part of it is, well, like across the street of it is the ranges. So we've got a shotgun range, we got a handgun rifle ranges, and then
that would be pretty cool
section. And then,
if you want to make a thing like that, you could go and test shoot a gun right after you buy it.
yeah, it's not like that though. It's the county. So, I mean, yeah, really, theoretically, that would be awesome. In real life, you can go to the gun show and then go to the range, but they have a government stick up their butt and the procedure that will not allow it to be removed, period. Like the only people they hire would have the stick up their butt because there's really no way to do something cool on county property. You know, the liability and everything like that.
So it's like one of those flood ranges, or
beyond that, like it's just government bureaucracy range. I mean, and they comply with every safety thing ever, and it's impossible. Like the only people that can do stuff on that range besides just a regular person going up and doing it are like the most squared away instructors that have like the most credentials ever. And
I was just talking about like as an individual, like I could go buy.
no, yeah, individuals can, but I thought you meant more like actual, like have the gun show, like actually have an event over there. Like here, you take your pass over and you go in,
awesome.
and have like an exposition, and you know somebody.
Like, if you got vendors and stuff, like we had a thing here that Sports World, one with the big safe I showed you.
Yeah, I know what Sports World.
They had a thing out here at the Tulsa Gun Club where they brought in a whole bunch of vendors like Browning and Colt and Smith and Wesson and HK and like you name it. And they brought.
I've heard that they've even had Oklahoma's Gun Snob.
Yeah, they did. I wasn't able to go out there, but it looked pretty cool.
No, you can tell that place is anyway. So yeah, exactly. Like that would be ideal. Actually, it'd be really neat. It would be cooler if ranges had gun shows, but this situation is that the fairgrounds has its own range. But I don't know. It's neat because you can do it, but you also, I happen to live out this way, but for most of town, this is like, shit, I got to drive 45 minutes south of town. Like this is not close to anybody because it's out in the middle of nowhere. But if you had like an indoor one or like some sort of, even yours, like that range in Oklahoma isn't necessary. It's like 20 minutes out of real downtown or whatever. Like, it's tough to get into the range near downtown. But if I go with my suggestion, the Walmart size buildings, let's start seeing some of those close down. And then
like there's a Sears like 2 blocks away from my house that shut down.
Sears had low roofs. They were made back in the day. They couldn't make giant suspension roofs.
No. This is a modern one. This was made in like late 90s.
So there's no pillars inside, and it's like
there's hardly any pillars at all.
Yeah, okay. So that kind of building, you take something like that, turn it into a massive indoor shooting facility, and then you keep an area of that for gun shows, and a big portion of that huge parking lot it would have.
Yeah.
That would be the shit right there.
Well, that, and you could have it be a gun range, 300 days of the year or whatever, and the other, 60 something could be gun show.
They have for again, like events and stuff. I'm sure you guys may have seen them where they'll like who the hell did it? This was in the day, so it was certainly not somebody making steel, although it might have been. I think it was somebody making a gun, like SIG or somebody. But anyway, they brought it out to the ranges out here a couple of times. It's basically a trailer like what you'd run a bulldozer on, like a big double axle, low to the ground trailer that can handle a lot of weight. And they put a shooting range, sort of like an old-fashioned thing, like from a carnival, except
like a gallery gun,
but like an AR-500, like a real, like what you'd use for a Glock match and shit, or like a 3-gun match. And then they just put these like big folding down things in front of the wheels. So they would just pull this trailer out and drop it down range, flip these big armored things in front of the wheels, basically, so you didn't shoot its wheels out or kill its axles. And then you just shot at the fucking trailer all afternoon. And then they just flip everything back up and drive it to the next range. So if you had something like that, you could go, how these liquidators or like the Halloween costume places, they'll just take over a warehouse building for a day or two. You could have gun shows, something like that, where, you bring in some stuff, and you could certainly do BB gun, air gun, airsoft, archery indoors, no problem. But I would really like to do shotgun and
real gun
shit inside. That'd be neat as fuck. Plus, if you got cans and shit, who cares? I guess The real problem would be ventilation. Stupid
Yeah.
EPA would eat
Well,
you.
like the regulations on the ventilation shit for ranges is insane.
Yeah, but you could probably come up with a semi or some sort of a situation where like the one truck was your ventilation system. The two other trucks are your actual targets and backdrops and stuff. And, like 3 vehicles you could drive around and have, a portable version of something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but whatever. Yeah, that'd be neat.
I miss the shooting galleries like at carnivals and shit. Like I remember when I was a kid, they had real guns. I mean, they were shooting 22 shorts or whatever, but
Oh shit! I just noticed that Tim was saying, "What the hell are we doing?" So yeah, I just went to this thing in Tucson, and they were those were little snippets. They gave. Well, it was really just what would the word be, like a courtesy. That board had no power, and were only like they were being exploited by these 2 ladies from California. It sounds like, who just decided that this fairgrounds that has gun shows 3 or 4 times a year, they were having a board meeting. So these ladies from California.
do they do this at every fairground in the area or something?
No, I think these are the same people that go after San Diego, though, because they come from California, and it's like their strategy to go to to find a little angle and work it. So if they can go to a fairgrounds board meeting and say, we have a problem with gun shows here. Maybe if they do that enough, they'll find a board in an empty room, so there's no support either way, and they'll find a board that'll go, oh, okay, we never thought of it that way. Let's get rid of these gun shows.
Well, it sounds like that's not happening where you are.
No, because there was a point in there, I didn't record it because, again, I didn't record every one because I was there for like an hour and it was 3-minute things. So it was a bunch of these little 3-minute things. And it didn't take long for people to switch the mics. We were all just standing in the little room. So one guy had brought up, as the board, according to blah, 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 your job is to make sure that every one of these buildings is occupied, bringing in money for taxpayers, like every moment. Like ideally you'd have every building full every day making money for the county. That's your job. So nothing about preventing this giant revenue source is part of your job description. And it's another angle, and it's true, right?
Yeah.
But
well, there is a money factor to it. It's a big business.
Yeah, and somebody had mentioned, even the ones we listened to, that they're going to do this because of their fear or their feelings or their concern, or they're convinced that, and they're going to ignore that this is some people's livelihood. This frivolous, if they don't have a gun shop, they're not an FFL. They're unscrupulous if you don't have a brick and mortar. You can't be legitimate if you don't have a brick and mortar. That's just, so again, that's intentionally ignorant or intentionally deceitful, because there's a whole bunch of people. This is a whole livelihood for everything. I mean, the same as if you took out like a swap meet. When a swap meet goes down, tons of people suffer. You could be like, oh, nobody goes to a swap meet. Who cares about a swap meet? There's people's livelihoods at every swap meet, probably. Why are the California women allowed to think they can go to another state and propose policy? I don't know. It's a good question. And I guess I didn't get to hear it. I don't know if there were definitely people there with phones. So I was the only one I know who's media. I mean, I don't know every media or nothing, but I didn't recognize anybody else who I would have recognized, right? In Tucson, Arizona. Just mentioned it's Tucson, Arizona. And there were easily 8 phones up recording most of it, from different angles, people in the audience and whatnot. And those were people who look like recording the whole thing, like not streaming, but not turning it off like I was doing. So it would be interesting to try to find it somewhere. I'm sure it's on Facebook. I'm guessing most of the people that did it probably should.
You might try a YouTube search. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that they stuck it on the YouTube. So I would like to hear. Well, let's go look. It doesn't cost nothing to go look. I would like to hear what their deal was. Like I said, they really got shouted down at the end. She decided to come up and say, like, well, I'd like to. And they're like, nope, we're over. And everybody nods, was like, no, go home. what would I put in here? Pima County Fairgrounds, I guess.
Today's date too, or the date it happened on, whatever.
I'm going to say filter today. Huh. And then these, what the heck? Oh, you know what? There's some car called a Tucson, so 1 billion of those came up. How do I tell it to, no, not even. It says Pima County Fairground. Why are these things coming up? Oh, there must have been, well, there was some sort of giant pulling event over at the drag strip, I guess.
Huh. Did it happen today or yesterday?
It was this morning. Yeah, I don't see anything that.
You might give it a couple of days. Sometimes it takes people some time to digest footage and shit.
Wow, I'm distracted by all the interesting shit that came up from Pima County. Wow.
All the stuff around you never knew about.
Just, yeah, different interesting channels. Like, there's a lot of people creating stuff online. I only listen and pay attention to gun stuff, but it turns out there's stuff. People are pointing cameras at other stuff, too, out there.
Like, gun channels wise, there's a few of you in Tucson. At least you and the hipster with the mustache.
Not at the Saving the Gun shows this morning.
Yeah.
So
that's not his sort of thing.
But anyway, there was, like I said, a bunch of people with cameras, so those went somewhere. The films went somewhere, hopefully. And then I guess I was going to also use that tip that, like, if you're going to record the whole thing, I don't think that's a sucker bet, in my opinion. It's probably good for documentation, like, or whatever the word is, like for archival purposes or something.
Yeah.
So if you have two phones, I guess, sure, have one run and then you get some B-roll footage. But my experience is that you're going to end up with a giant, huge file. So, I mean, even with any software I've ever used, they don't like large files. So at the best, you're going to have to probably go into a really long file and chop it into 3 so that they're more manageable and start editing that way. So that's more work right off the bat. But then I prefer to do it this way this time. I'm just talking like tech-wise here. Turning it on and off each time because it wasn't opportune today, the way I was standing with other people around me. But it would have been very easy to, every time I hit stop on the video, to hit the edit and then rename or however you get to rename, and then give them a series of names, Pima County 1, Pima County 2, lady with a good idea, guy who said about this, give them some notes right in the nameage right away or in the naming right away. And then even if I don't do it that way, I can do it after the fact and I can go put them in a series that way. And then they're just sort of pre-edited, I guess. So I'm lazy and I'm trying to do it all on my phone. So it's just my tip to you can stream the whole thing, or not stream, but record the whole thing. But what you'll end up with is giving yourself some extra work.
Hey, there's an article here from 8 hours ago, Arizona Daily Star. Joe
Okay.
Perk.
Yeah, throw it at me on the internal, I guess. What is banners? Can I use that? Oh, look, I can create a banner, and I'm not even paying for the duck. I'm going to add banners.
It's a long link, man. Good Lord.
That's a long link.
Oh, maybe I can add a banner. They're teasing me.
Good luck typing that one.
I'm not typing it. Copy and paste.
I know. I'm just saying, like, if you had to.
Huh, it's a newspaper. Who's the most dumb about going online ever? Newspaper.
Yeah.
They all suck at it. So, former Tucson councilwoman pushes to end. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong about the California thing. So, I just regurgitate. I don't fucking pay attention. Let's share this shit. Here's my little pop-up ad. Thank you, dumbass newspaper. I'm not buying your little blank nothing. So, former Tucson councilwoman pushes to end gun shows at Pima County Fairgrounds. She was there. I seen her there. Molly something who served. Let's get rid of this shit too. Molly something who served. Look at who's desperate over here. Desperately trying to give me a Chinese-made duffel bag.
They're really about them Chinese bags.
And it's even dancing. I don't know what's in
They're
that.
trying to give me some kind of a drug called Trulicity. I don't know what that is, but
Well, I'm sure you need it.
You kidding?
To get better A1C non-insulins once a week, non-insulin.
Like a diabetes medication.
Oh, I thought you meant the NRA. You're talking about the Tucson. I was thinking the NRA. I'm like, whoa, NRA's really forbidden.
Yeah, it's diabetes medicine, man.
Okay. All right, so Molly, who served on the Tucson City Council, is trying again to put a stop to gun shows at the Pima County Fairgrounds.
Again.
Yeah, must be her passion. She's passionate about this. Well, she's a nurse who treated people wounded on January 8th. Thursday asked the Southwest Fair Commission to voluntarily stop scheduling gun shows. Oh, so okay, she's just asking them to voluntarily stop. So she knows that they don't have a power to change rules or something. The commission is a privately run nonprofit, blah, 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 handles the stuff at the fairground since the 1970s. She left the city council in 1997 and said the commission would be exempt from state law. Said the commission would be exempt from a state law that ties the hands of political entities from putting additional restrictions. Oh, okay. So there's, what do they call it? We do not have state, what's it called? The override, where cities cannot create law that overrides state. What is that called?
I don't know. Common sense.
No, there's a name for when states, some states allow cities to make laws that.
I know what you mean.
And then in Tucson or in Arizona, no city law can override a state law, and there's a state law that says leave gun shows alone. So because she knows that the city has no legal ability to deal with gun shows, or the county, I should say, she's hoping that she could convince the committee to just voluntarily do it. Basically, with nothing except for her asking, decide to just do this voluntarily. So that was interesting. So she left, and she was put in from putting, okay, so they could get out of holding gun shows because they are a nonprofit. 6 months ago, she failed to convince the county board of supervisors to require background checks on all gun sales held at gun shows out at the fairgrounds because the state law doesn't allow that. The state law preemption?
Something like that, yeah.
A gun show organized by the whatever will be held at the fairgrounds this weekend. Oh, now I know about a gun show this weekend. McCassin and Bowman made their comment. Oh, you know what? I might be able to capitalize on that knowledge. Whoop, whoop. Thanks for the article. Blah, blah, blah made their comments during a call to the audience during the commission's meeting. There was opposition from gun owners who were alerted to their appearance by Bob Templeton. Sent an email, local liberals attack Pima Gun Show. I had asked people to attend the meeting. So the county fair board is going to hear from Weller. Oh, this is just saying what his email said. The commission took no action on the pair's comments because they spoke during call to audience and it was not part of the public meeting agenda. Okay, so Templeton says about 100 supporters went, and that's what I estimated it at 115. And there was, I guess, 2. This lady, so I erroneously said California. I should have said some lady from Tucson, because I think I overheard California, so I listened to rumor. I don't know. We know what it was. It's in his email. I thought it said. Oh, it does say local. Pima County Board is going to hear from a well-organized group of local liberals who object. Maybe I interpreted the well-organized part to mean outside influence. So that's probably my whatever misinterpretation. So I guess the reason that they took no action is because they basically are just like, hey, we're here to do stuff, and you're sitting here watching us. Did you want to say something? And they go, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, all right, well, it's not even part of the meeting. We just asked you if you wanted to say something, and you said something. But there's no legal obligation either way. And then he went on to make it clear that, get out of here. We're not going to listen to you ever, which is very nice. So thanks. Now we know that it's a former Tucson councilwoman. Now the one in the red, there was another lady there in the red. That must be, they have 2 names here. So this one and that one. And this is this one. So it's the other one. It's the B one. This one So let's see if we can get something about her today. News? Oh, that's not her. Oh, there's that article. Except, is this the same one?
That's a different one, isn't it?
Yeah, because that one's from the newspaper. This is from
That's
like
TV.
big time TV. This is from TV.
Popular.
Am I allowed to watch TV on the YouTube? I know the duck don't care.
Probably
That's a news article. I'm gonna assume with that probably local.
Oh, ugh. It's not even on YouTube.
That's probably a commercial.
Well, that is, yeah. I had nothing. There was nobody dead there. So this says, should Pima County allow guns to be hosted on its properties? It's a question posed by Citizens for Safer Pima County. The assholes. Citizen for Safer Pima County. You know how much unsafer people in Pima County would be if you didn't have a sidearm? It would be like, oh, you mean Pima County where people are mauled by mountain lions weekly? Like Pima County, all the mountain lions know you can just go to Pima County and eat people.
All right.
See, 2 members of the group, blah, 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 used the call to the audience at Thursday's Pima County Fair board meeting to ask for a public hearing on the gun shows. The pair was met with several dozen backers of gun shows. Several dozen. 100 and plus is several dozen.
Several dozen
Three.
sounds less. Yeah.
Yeah, several is like 3, right?
Well, it sounds like you got print media on your side.
Because people hear several, you know what I'm saying, instead of the dozen. So it sounds way less than saying 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And total effect, you know, they write with intent.
Yeah. Right.
Who were asked to attend by the owner of Crossroads of the West Gun Show. So they're trying to suggest, hey, look at this. That's definitely the room. So they're trying to suggest that this guy is like the orchestrator of the you know, the evil whatever. But they don't even like make it clear that Crossroads is the gun show promoter. Like this does. I mean, I guess it kind of does. This was the boss guy who made those comments at the end. He's like the boss of the committee.
Shame he's not younger.
Oh, you know what? I didn't share this with the audio. How do I do this? Unshare it and then remove it and then share and share with the audio. Oh, and then actually click share instead of cancel. Oh, and then click the actual screen. Okay, so now you guys will be able to hear it, and I'll have to mute.
He's really quiet.
You can hear it though?
Sort of very, very, very quiet.
It's very quiet. Yeah. Oh.
Like whispering.
Is that any better?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, that was better. It's not now, but it was. I can't hear it. What did you do there for a second? It was loud.
Yeah, it came in loud for one point.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna kill it, and then I'll just play it through my speaker. Usually, the thing is because I'm playing it through my speaker, there's an echo or whatever. So I will remove it, and then remove it and kill it, and then bring it back without clicking that. And now you can see it, and I'll just play it from my speaker. Hopefully, this will work better. This worked out pretty good because I was standing right next to this camera.
The crowds come out to respond.
Can you hear it now?
Believe are
Yeah.
shows at the Pima County Fairgrounds. A small group of people asking if the fairgrounds is a proper place for a gun show. New at 6, KOLD News 13.
A small group of people. her. That's a
two
small
people.
group of people.
Yeah.
But Foster shows us that question.
Which one is a couple, a small group?
Conversation.
I'm not sure there's a totally fair and equitable way to do this.
An overflow crowd, unusual for a fairgrounds commission meeting. But the topic drew the crowd, gun shows, of which there is one at the fairgrounds this
this weekend. I enjoy those, and I want the option to be able to come to them, and that's it. 2 women, armed with 450 petition signatures, asked for a public hearing to guarantee that criminals are not buying guns at the show.
Would you voluntarily ask all of your vendors to do a background check?
No, no.
Why?
Why would I do that? Bob Templeton, who is the owner of the show, and 2 members of the Citizens for a Safer Pima County.
My name's Molly, and I know your name is Bob.
Hi, Molly.
Hi, Bob. I'm glad to meet you.
I'm glad to meet you. We're locked in an impromptu spirited discussion outside the meeting.
I'm not saying that you can't buy a gun. I'm just saying the fairgrounds
You're
is
just saying
not the right
You're just
place.
saying we can't get together and talk about this. It's viewpoint discrimination. You're attempting to discriminate based on your viewpoint against thousands of law-abiding citizens.
Created an avenue for criminals to come and buy guns.
There's no demonstrated link between
There
criminality
is
and the gun show.
absolutely demonstrated link. The vendors that sold me these guns, how did they determine that I'm not a criminal, that I'm not mentally ill, that I'm not a domestic abuser, that I'm not dishonorably discharged? Was it my glasses, my hair?
Where's the obligation of someone else to be responsible for you?
What I can guess is the law enforcement plus the probation and parole people who are there identify, they know who the bad guys
Identify.
are. Yeah,
So many of the people in there think that we're against the seller. We are not against the seller at all. We are against the buyer. The felon is coming out here and buying a gun.
Ladies, we've got to
Thank
get a
you
point.
so much
I'm
for
glad to get acquainted with both of you. Nothing was settled here as a complicated issue. However, it did spark a passionate but civil conversation. And both sides agree that is likely the best that anyone could have hoped for. At the Pima County Fairgrounds, I'm Bud Foster, KLD News 13, live overlay breaking.
The best anyone could have hoped for.
Yeah, this guy's a douche. Back in the day, before all this was bullshit, their weather guy used to hang out at gun shows. I think it was their weather guy, but not this guy.
Wow.
So you got an idea. Yeah, so neat. That's a little biased.
So she went in apparently and bought some stuff, guns from a private individual, which is not illegal in Arizona unless you're a felon or mentally adjudicated, unless you're not illegal to own, correct? And then she's upset because state law says that's legal, basically. So she took it out on the damn fairground.
There's just, it's like the absence of law. So it's, it's not as though there's a law that says you can do this. It's just that there's not laws that say you can't. So she's suggesting that there's a potential for a bad guy to go to a gun show and buy a gun without any kind of check and then have a gun. So now there's someone who shouldn't have a gun because they're bad, and now they've got a gun and the gun show facilitated it. Now she's obviously gone to a gun show. She must have gone to a show to experience, whatever it was to buy those guns, unless she bought them someplace else. But let's say she bought them at the gun show. So I don't know how she can go into a gun show, and we know, because we've been to gun shows, she didn't just walk in and go to the first table, buy those guns.
She had to hunt the private seller.
She walked all the fucking way around to try to figure out what a private sale is first, and then find someone who's got a private sale, because she didn't want to do the background check. So she had to go in and find somebody who's just selling a gun to each other.
Yep.
So she did go to a show. So she's ignoring everything that she experienced at that show. So she went in there with a drive to achieve a goal, and she did. So then she's going to suggest that a bad guy would do the same thing. So that's fine. You can suggest that because no one's suggesting the otherwise. But what the one person in the meeting had said was that that's the bad guy. The bad guy's the one committing the felony there. If you are selling a car to somebody and you don't know, but they're about to go do something bad with that car, is that your fault? Did you conspire with them? So, if someone comes up to you and dupes you and says, I'm not a felon, but they are a felon, or I'm not a prohibited possessor, but they are, and you take them at their word because of whatever feelings you got for it, and you go, okay, is that your fault? Is that, she's like, we're not against the seller, we're against the buyer. So it's like, okay, so you're against bad guys being bad, you're against bad guys who are prohibited from doing something, doing it anyway. Like, oh, I'm against fucking red cars, but I don't get to tell the world that
I am anti-hurricane.
Right.
So that's the thing. So she's ignoring the fact that, number one, gun shows have a lot more going on than illicit sales. That two, there's, they tried to explain to her, there's no correlation between her perception of an illicit sale and actual crime. So it's not as though every gun that is pulled from a bad guy who did either something bad or was just carrying it around inappropriately, that they all trace to gun shows, because we know that 0.8% of them trace to gun shows. She's ignoring all that, and she's ignoring what's going on at the show to suggest that her, because she could go in and enjoy a freedom that a bad guy could. And she's suggesting then also that every single person in a gun show is complicit, or at least there's someone complicit in every gun show, or there's a possibility, so that, you know what I mean? She's like saying, well, if I went to a flea market and I found, illegal goldfish, then all flea markets should be shut down because the potential for illegal goldfish is there. Like, it just, I don't know what the leap of logic or whatever, like the disconnect there, but there's a name for that disconnect where you look at one instance and then apply that inappropriately or incorrectly to any other, like all others, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, so anyway, so I think that like I say, that's, you could see at the end there when they were talking out front of the place, that was where I had just got done posting my Instagram post, and I was leaving. If they would have angled that camera a little bit, if they would have been standing a little bit to the right and I could have seen a little bit to the left, you would have seen the van drive by. So I was literally watching as they were talking there, and I was kind of going, because I was far away and I don't have good glasses, so I wasn't, completely aware of what they were doing. It's kind of like, I could tell they were close though, and I was like, they're either probably heated or they're getting along. Like something's, but there's, it's not just like handshake and walk away. It's something going on there, and they're pointing cameras at them. So I was like, shit, I probably have time to park and walk over there and still hear some of it. And then I thought, I could chat with these ladies, but now I'm solidified my whatever opinion before that would have been a waste of time. And I definitely didn't, there was no urgency. They live in Tucson, so it sounds like whenever I could go track them down and it'd be interesting. So I'll do that eventually. Just try to get them on some kind of a thing where we talk to them and try to figure out why they think we're all bad, even though history shows that, it's not the case.
Well, they kind of know we kind of know what their deal is now, at least. So that's good.
A little bit more, but yeah, exactly. That's what I was curious about, is their position, why they're so objecting to gun shows. So I guess their position, summarized, would be that they think criminals can use a gun show, so gun shows shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, it's like criminals can go buy a car too. Like, criminals can do a lot of shit.
Screaming Saloon out there's got a good point. So she is against the seller if she's trying to shut down the gun show.
Yeah, exactly. Because her result is stopping the seller.
Yeah.
And it was interesting too that she has to be, I don't know what the word would be, but she has to be tweaked. I'm just going to say tweaked, because that means she did sit there. So she was sitting in that room listening to all those speeches, those 3-minute speeches. So it's not like, I can understand if someone's not really interested and then somebody goes on and on for 20 minutes and there's like 2 good kernels of information. I wouldn't expect somebody who doesn't give a shit to listen to that whole 20 minutes and absorb those important pieces. But in a 3-minute speech, and some of those were just gold, like some of those had to get through to a human being. She's got to be I'm going to say tweaked again. She's got to be so devoted to the cause that when those ladies got up and suggested their positions on this or their feelings, I guess the one I missed, or at least I missed it when we were playing here, was a lady that came up right before the hipster guy. And I thought they were together because they were both dressed way nicer than everybody else in there. And I was afraid they were going to be antis because they were dressed so nice. So I recorded her, but and I didn't point the camera at her. And I'm glad I didn't, because she was very nervous. And she was holding the microphone, but you know how when someone's nervous, their handshake or whatever, like she was visually, you could tell she was super nervous about it. And only, again, I don't just want to insult a robot. Like, I don't know what kind of corpse you'd have to be to watch someone pour out emotions to you. This is a woman standing up in front of a group of men, looking at the woman who's accusing everyone in that room of being unscrupulous because she thinks that there's a loophole, or she's so driven by her agenda that she's willing to hoist that fucking flag into this, situation. She's saving us even though we're all evil or whatever. She's in that room with 100 people watching another female talk to her in a microphone so that everybody can hear it. And she's literally trembling as she's describing basically the fact that she, was not familiar with firearms, and then she got attacked, and then she became more familiar, and now she's an instructor, and she talked about sort of like her thing. So it was like, again, there's no way that you can tell me that lady can sit there and listen to that other lady and still come out and say that blather about, this is a foster place for felons. Like, yeah. So you're basically, again, there's no way. That would be like me telling her she's a Pol Pot. Is that the guy that, a completely extreme communist or something? And
communist, yes.
Yeah, like she's like the worst communist ever because she made this one suggestion, and then just saying, nope, you're in that place, like stay there. That's exactly what she's doing. She's marginalizing us, like those other people said way more eloquently, making us responsible or putting us in with all those criminals. Well, what am I saying? All those, the single criminals that exist. They're throwing thousands and thousands of people. Again, it's not rational. It's not intelligent. So I suspect the people that they're throwing out, that didn't look like the cream of the crop from Bloomberg. Like, I don't see Bloomberg going, I'm going to throw some money at Tucson. I'm going to whip out like a couple of $50,000, and I'm going to pay $50,000 for some media in Tucson. So let's find her and her, 25,000 each, right? This was probably the equivalent of I'm going to go put my AR-15 on and hold my phone and walk around Walmart with my shopping cart, right? Like, this is their version of that, maybe.
Right.
And maybe we shouldn't, but at the same time, if that's the case, then again, they didn't get to just walk in with their shopping cart right up to customer service, take a shit, and walk out. They were met with a few dozen people who are concerned about
literally couples of dozens of people.
But yeah, so I'm going to spend some time after I'm done with this project that I was alluding to earlier. One of my things is I've been collecting positions, like points. Like, I've been listening to some anti stuff and some stuff from the kids, the youths that are doing these awesome podcasts now. And they'll have people that come on that are, I'm going to call them communists, but middle, whatever. And they'll ask questions that are dumb, but they're kids, so they're asking dumbass questions. But anyway, I'm putting those into a pile. I shouldn't say dumb. Questions that have come up throughout the eons that are just simplistic, like, well, what's wrong with background chicks? We don't see what's wrong with the background chick. So I'm recording some of those things, and then I'm going to attempt to gather some of these good responses, and not just the quote of the response, but like how we kind of talked about that lady from New York, who, again, we could have said the exact same words and they would have bounced off of anybody. But with her saying those words, I think they've got an edge. They've got a razor edge to them. Like, they will penetrate, right?
Right.
So there's something like that. So I'm thinking that, it's not going to solve the world or nothing, but it's just another angle to try to archive some of the positions and some of the things that have been said to rebut or refute some of these crazy positions, just to give people a toolbox that's a little more organized so they can, I've seen some kind of clunky attempts to address specifics, but they've pretty much been like, here's a bullet point that the antis use, and here's facts to back up the challenge. Like, here's facts to back up the challenge. I think we need more than just facts to back up the challenge. You need those, but you also need nuance, and you need the right emotional response, and a couple of emotional responses, because someone who's coming at it from Save the Kids versus someone that's coming at it like stop the corporations from raping us, and someone coming at it from, what are we going to do? Like there's just different emotional responses you need. So we're going to hopefully start archiving some of these and maybe use some of this new shared master brain computing and some indexing power. And it's time to learn some new shit. Internet's neat and everything, but pretty soon we're going to all have we'll all have access to shared super brains. And I'm not going to be the last person on that Uber ride, because when Bloomberg figures out he can pay for some super brain, we're in for some challenge. If somebody figures out that they can clobber us with some super brain crunching, we're in trouble. So I want to get on that bandwagon first so that we can at least, hopefully use it against them first, but at least hold our own once they start getting into that, because that could be some crazy shit, especially when you get into red flag stuff. Mm-hmm. Using super brains to comb through somebody's complete history online in a reasonable amount of time, not like a fantasy 6-month effort, but like 6-minute effort. Yeah, it'll be interesting. All right, well, so with that, I don't know what Clover's saying, he's got to bail. It has been the middle of the night. I want to thank again everyone who supported the projects with purchases from the store. Whatever the amount is, I don't even have to look. It's a lot of money. I do appreciate it. We're going to divide those up into $25 increments, and then we'll be doing a long format show tomorrow. We'll be doing even more because I am definitely in debt. I haven't paid the mortgage this month. I've got another whopping bill coming, and I'd like to have like a couple of bucks to go eat or something at Gun Rights Policy next week, although I'm sure I could mooch off of these guys. But we'll also be talking about
participation in it, or do you know?
What?
Did you get much participation in your promotion, or do you know?
Oh, yeah. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Seriously, it's a lot. Good. I haven't even had a chance. I haven't shipped anything, so I hope people kind of realized I was going to wait to ship so that I could combine. I don't have the money to ship until the money comes in anyway. I'm that broke, but I figured I could combine shipping or whatever, whoever wins. So I'll do all that stuff live tomorrow. But yeah, it was a lot of money. Unfortunately, I have a lot of big bills this time of year. It's just infrastructure shit. It's just that, some people would tell me I don't need, but I own. So anyway, so I've got some massive bills, and like I said, I'm trying to keep everything going. I've got up this freaking project, the 2A history thing. I don't think it's needed to be done by Gun Rights Policy. I just think it would have been nice to get input from people at Gun Rights Policy with like a finished product or a more finished product. Are you keeping it open for a couple hours? You mean grabbing things? Yeah, until tomorrow, whenever I go live, I don't know if I'm going to crash. I drank a Monster and I'm basically been staying up all night. So I didn't sleep till noon today. I don't know. I'm all screwed up. So I'm like I went at least one overnight without sleeping, and then I kind of napped. So I don't even know if I call that a sleep. And I definitely am like a double shot energy Starbucks thing I got at the dollar store. So I'm probably going to be awake for a while. The laser thing though, yeah, I'll until I go live tomorrow, I guess. I was trying to keep it off of Free Patch Friday for one, because cheap, right? Try to get people to buy stuff before Free Patch Friday, but then just not to keep pushing the deadline back so that it's fair to the people that purchased earlier in the week. But yeah, I'll probably just kind of stop it, at some point here before I start the show tomorrow. Anyway, we'll do a long format show. The idea is to not go into this year's Gun Rights Policy, at least my whatever multiple year going, and definitely not everybody's first rodeo. People have maybe not attended, but they're familiar, and it's possible to go back and listen to prior years. They're available online. But the Gun Rights Policy tends to be a useful effort. I mean, it's certainly necessary and everything, but it becomes yet another what's the word, like achievement, like a place that you go and you do, but then it just becomes an event and you go on to the next thing. And I think because it only happens once a year and it's fairly significant, I think it can be more than that. And I've in the past tried to get people to do it more often so that we didn't need to keep it as significant as a single event each year, a singularity, but instead to make it a regularity. but that didn't seem to work out. And maybe, again, people are just too busy or not interested enough of the time. But so if there's only going to be the one gun rights policy conference, and we're only going to get together at one time, once, really, and even more importantly, together at one time where we don't have the obligations and stuff that SHOT Show brings us, or whatever the other show might be that brings us together. If we're going to come together for that, what can we get? For example, just, like the gun channels circle thing that we do with the patches, right? Marco came up with that years ago. So everybody grabs their gun channels patch, right? What if we did it with Every Second Matters patches? I can certainly bring a stack of those and have a group of people with Every Second Matters patches. How neat would that be? And then do some kind of a group shot. I don't know. So there's potential, since we'll have people in the same room. There's just some things that we can do. And, as participants in the event, we don't have to be there to be in the community or in the society with us, right? So it's possible that there's stuff that we can do remotely to be involved or to contribute or to, again, to help. Maybe it's something as simple as taking notes. It was 4 minutes into their speech that they said XYZ. That would be a great highlight clip or something, just something like that. If like Clover or I still don't really know what Night Strike is going to do there, but if Night Strike is going to create content, Clover is trying to create content, I believe. Others, if you can just let them know, like, hey, this speech at the 5-minute mark was gold. Be sure to highlight that on your coverage or something. Something like that might help out. If you're there for 3 days doing stuff, it's easy to forget little kernels of gold like that.
Right.
All right, so that was all wrapping up. Nut, you got anything going on?
No, I'm just working. I was taking a break when I saw you come live.
Yeah, saw you on the Instagram. You got the link and jumped in. Appreciate it. And chat with you, I guess, on Match Chat or something here. Then we got Clover. Anything coming up? What's today? Thursday, so it's Friday now.
I'm waiting on Bloomberg's check. I plan on switching teams as soon as we get there.
Well, see, that's me too. The bitch won't pay out.
That's a strategy. We could all just be like, you know what? We've got a lot of insight into the gun side. Those fuckers
cash in.
Super violent over there. They're always threatening me to not talk about it. And then just like get on his payroll and then make a bunch of money and start going to SHOT Show and everything in his time. That'd be great.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Do recon, or that'd be the excuse anyway.
Well, you can feed counter intel. So you just be like, oh yeah, gun owners, man, they're super rugged self-individualists. Like, it's tough. We're going to be able to beat them. You might want to go after like puppy kickers. Puppy kickers are jerks.
Right.
These gun people, it turns out they're pretty solid. They're pretty good. They're helping save the world. All right, well, all right.
Actually a plan for the unlocking.
You got a live show tomorrow night?
Yeah, we're gonna do Farm Friday live tomorrow with Iron Horse Farm.
Now yours is pre Gary Gizzard.
Yeah.
Gizzard Gary.
Yeah, 8 Central. Or 8. I'm sorry, 8 Eastern. I'm sorry. 8 Eastern.
I don't see budget out there, but I'm guessing budget.
He goes late.
Pretty much changed after, and he goes after Gizzard now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that'll be a whole night of watching. And then if anybody's interested in participating, you don't have to worry about quirking these people. You can run your show right at the same time.
Yep. Absolutely.
So definitely contribute when you listen to those different people talk today. They each have different life experience and ability to communicate their perspective to an audience. And none of us should be, we all understand that none of us reaches everybody. So that's the kind of thing that creates the flood. I always say No Drop thinks it's responsible for the flood. That's because No Drop understands that it consolidates water, and that increases the chance of the consolidation of the water behind it, right? It pulls other stuff out. So as you do stuff and you show people, you inspire, and you offer them a path, you give them some inspiration, but so also, so I guess the word is, you give them direction. Then you never know what might result. So again, we don't even know who we're trying to reach at this point. So value those voices, and there's so many different ways to communicate. Don't get too wrapped up in this whole YouTube thing. We use this as a tool, but it's by no means the only way. I'm looking forward to seeing what Clover gets out of AmCon. I guess we'll talk about more of this tomorrow, but there's lots of different ways to participate. We'll be exploring a lot more of those going forward on some of the how-to shows. And then I'll shut up because I'm just blabbing at this point. So again, thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks everybody who supports what we're doing in the different ways that we attempt to do it. Go buy knives off of Roland. He's always making sharp things. And
Klein Knives on Instagram if you're interested.
And then Clover makes content, and he has left-handed hats, I think. Only left.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, I don't have any outro music. So is this all you do, or do you also